working a route, or just going out there finding your money on an everyday basis? I'm going to talk about that on this segment of the Gig Gezer. If this is your first time checking out the Gig Gezer, if you're a returning visitor of the Gig Gezer, thanks for coming by. And if you would not mind, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. I want to take this opportunity to acknowledge a few people, and I'm going just on memory, so hopefully I'm not disrespecting anybody on this. The first person I want to acknowledge is a local guy. He's just starting with the ownership and operation of a Sprint/cargo van. He previously, for the last few years, been working as in the service department of a local car dealership. His name is Mr. Lorenzo Capers. We actually worked together on a last mile opportunity a couple of days ago, and he's a geezer as well. And he's trying to make it work. He's been doing it for about 5, almost 6 weeks now. And so we talked a good bit during and after that opportunity. The next guys I want to acknowledge are content creators. The first one is a familiar one whom I've made reference to multiple occasions. He's changed his channel name from Uber Jeep AZ to Mic Drop Barbecue, and that's Mr. J Watts. Mr. J Watts, Mic Drop Barbecue. I understand the concept behind the name, Mic Drop, when he has something to say and it makes his point. And then barbecue, you know, everybody comes around, talk, shoot the breeze, have a good time, share ideas, information, and hopefully everyone talks as if they got sense or act as if they got sense in the process. Lately, he's really been on a roll. He has really been on a roll about just giving people the lowdown about Uber and Lyft, and also presenting to people options. Although he works in Arizona, he's trying to trigger people's thoughts to look for other options within their respective markets. In his market, it's Hum, a smaller app in which drivers they are active on the app by subscription, but then they keep 100% of the fare. The other thing is that he's been telling drivers, at least in Arizona, to go ahead and get their license to do live read. In Arizona, it just costs $10, and they can do cash rides, and it's not in conflict with Uber or Lyft. In South Carolina, you have to do a lot more. There's a lot more bureaucracy involved, but it can be done. Additionally, when you do a live read, you also have to have commercial insurance, and you know that's probably the biggest investment other than your vehicle and your time. The other two, guy named Reggie ran it up. He wants to say Reggie runs it up, but he says Reggie ran it up, and I guess he's saying it in the passive active tense, in that, hey, he's trying to run up those numbers by working those gig apps. Now, he's been having some issues lately with his van, off and on issues with his van, but he is determined to make it as best as what I've checked out on his channel. The last one is a gentleman, his name is John Russell, but his channel is called Everyday I'm Rustling. He's not out there to hustle, he's out there to rustle. Now that's just me kind of improvising on what his channel should be his theme, but he recently started in the ownership and operation of a Sprinter/cargo van. He put the 2 videos that I've seen were him doing over-the-road experiences. In fact, he had a stop and a pickup in South Carolina. So, all right, so I've talked about 4 or 5 minutes into this segment of the Gig Gezer. Again, if you like the content that's been provided in this segment or in any other segment, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. So I'm doing something different today. So far this week, I have chased money. I have done 2 brokered opportunities to Atlanta. Both of them were from Duncan, South Carolina to the Atlanta airport area. The first one paid me $467.50, and I've got a video coming out on that one. Then I worked around town, and it was a dogfight to get to where I was. One day it was like $210. The next day it was $280. And the day that I earned $280 was the day that I met Mr. Lorenzo Capers. Then yesterday I did another brokered opportunity from Duncan to Atlanta, and it's paying me $410. And that's all I did yesterday. I come into today having earned $1,397. And so what it is that I was approached about doing a route today, and it's going to pay me $300. Now, I did something similar to this last week on this same app, and I got $350 on it because of the way it was set up. And it was actually, it was just 4 stops, if memory serves me correct. But this one I'm doing because, okay, I don't sense much going on. The last week or so I've seen, at least in the Columbia area, at least I've been fortunate in that I've had opportunities that have not exposed me to the dearth of last mile opportunities in the Columbia area. And then there's also the conversation about the gig food apps, namely DoorDash being the prominent one, and how the opportunities and pay has just nosedived. So I agreed to it. Initially they offered me $225, and then they paid $50 over. I told them $300, and I'll be there at 9 o'clock. In fact, it's 8:30, going on 8:35 now. So I'll be there at 9 o'clock. But then they said, well, look, hey, this is consistent money, man. It's a project for a month, and you get $225 and then $50 for every hour over 4 hours. Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe for someone else, but not for me. Okay. Number one, I thought about the time factor. I would have to show up Monday through Friday at 9 o'clock, and I'm giving up 4 hours of my day. So let's say a good portion of my day, let's say 4 to 6 hours. So that's basically half of my day. Maybe a little more than half of my day, but let's just say half of my day obligated to them. That sounds like a job. Now, this is not to talk down on people who have route situations, dedicated route situations. That's consistent money. And based on your financial situation, based on your personal situation, based on your personal comfort with the pursuit of money or of earning money, you may be okay with that. Fuck yeah, you'd say. Yeah, I pimp my walk and grab my Johnson on that because I know I got that much money coming in. And then whatever I do on top, that's gravy. Quite honestly, if this were 2018, maybe 2019, I might give it a good listen, because back then I wasn't earning what I'm earning now. Okay, so everybody's situation is different, and so I'm not going to talk down on the person who has the dedicated route. Now, if the dedicated route was paying even closer to what I make on average a day, I may check it out and then decide if I want to do it. But I think for me, because I'm trying to give myself as many options as possible, which is one of the keys to when you are in business for yourself. You want to give yourself as many money earning options as possible. You cannot box yourself into just one thing, man. That's the thing. If they can get you boxed, if you're boxed into this one thing, what if some real money comes up and you're doing that fucking route? You're gonna hate yourself. You're gonna curse them motherfuckers out. You're gonna be telling them, you know what, man? I don't think this is me. You may not even show up the next day. So what I told them was that I do it for $300 today, And they said, okay, we'll do that now, but we can offer you $250 a day and then the extra $50 on top. No, just let's do it for today. Now, to some, you may say that I'm cutting my throat, or as my grandmother would say, cutting your nose off to spite your face. I'm thinking in a lot of angles real fast. I mean, you have to think about this shit real fast because they're coming to you and saying, hey, Gezer, man, we got this today, and can you be there at 9 o'clock? Well, I'll tell you this already. I've already taken a peek at the route. Last week I said I got paid $350 to do full stops from the same people. Well, I got 11 stops today, man. 11 or 12 stops. They already had a fucking advantage. And I know that half of them are in Lexington. One of them is in Casey. One is in Blythewood, which is on the opposite far fucking end of things. And then there's one in on the east side. So the way I figure what I'm gonna do is knock out Lexington, the Lexington stops, the Casey stop, West Columbia stop, go over to the east side stop, and then end up in Blythewood, and then I'll decide on what I'll do for the rest of the day. Another thing that I want to another thing I want to convey, at least among my thoughts, at least when it comes to routes, is that I showed a few segments here on the Gig Gezer with my experience doing the Federal Express personal vehicle program. I mentioned the last time I made reference to it, I mentioned, at least it was on tax day, the contractor whom I'd been dealing with, he got out of it all the way around. He sold his contract, he sold his route, and now he's, at least when I last spoke to him, he's doing W-2. Changed his phone number, everything, short of changing his fucking identity. And I was okay in the beginning in 2020 because I was working out of my Pathfinder, and they were paying $120 a day, which I thought at the time was pretty good because it was like, it wasn't every day, but $120 a day was cool to me at the time, because my goal was like $200 a day earned. In 2021, 2022, I did work out of the F-150. And I think I earned $130 a day when I would go out there. And then when I got my van, when I ran into him in 2022, that was the year I got my van, he was offering $150, $160 a day. But if I wanted to earn more money, it also meant more stops. And also one of the things that I kind of went back and forth with him about, in a respectful way, was that I was looking to get $200 a day, especially with the van and also being able to use the van. So when I think of routes, I'm thinking, okay, time, gas, getting in and out of vehicle on the body, and I reached a point where if I were doing a Federal Express route, I'd be losing money. And so I kind of backed off, and that's all I'm going to say. I just backed off. And then not knowing that he sold his route, I guess that was a fair ending to all that. So that's the thing that I'm thinking about today. Same thing, especially knowing that I got 3 times as many stops as I had last week, and not even for the same money, even though I got more than what they were willing to pay. I still feel that they're getting over. But I'm about 10 minutes away from the route pickup location, and we will kind of document what goes on today. All right, I'm all loaded up, as you can tell on the inside. Those are all the stops. It's actually 7 stops. It's not 11 stops as what it appeared on the app. Apparently, the app the app did not compile it the same way as what was entered by the customer. But 7 stops. I did 4 last week, if memory serves me correct. But they are going, and where I mentioned it was Lexington, Casey, believe there's a West Columbia stop, and then there's east side of Columbia, and then there's Blythewood. And like I said, the Blythewood one is that's closer to my place, the Gezer compound, and so that's where I'll end it for today. Hopefully I get it done in less than 4 hours. I should. I know that the last one that I did took me about 3.5 hours. But I think the time for, well, actually, this first stop, it's a palletized load, and I've dropped off there doing brokered opportunities. And each time I went there, obviously it was a palletized load, and so they took it off with a forklift. So I'll resume the conversation in a little bit. All right, I'm at the first drop-off location. On the customer's plan sheet, it was actually stop number 2, but the way I got it set up, this is actually the farthest point, at least in this, going in this direction of the Columbia, South Carolina metropolitan area. So this is the farthest point west. I'm thinking farthest point south, but what the fuck, I mean, anyway, it's the farthest point that I would probably have to go, other than the last one, in the diametrically opposite direction. And so this one has the pallet, and this is the place that I've dropped off to on a couple of occasions doing brokered opportunities. Alrighty, we've got one down, and like I said, 6 more to go. Just as I was doing my U-turn to head on out, I got a call from the customer asking me about pictures, at least on the app, which I'd already done. And so I asked the guy then, he hadn't seen them yet come up on the app, so I said I'll just text message you the photos of the signed pick sheet and the actual delivery of the items, so that you can forward those to your boss. And he was okay with that. So you know what, you're always having to make adjustments. You're always having to call audibles, and you're always having to think fast when you're out here. Now, hey, it is what it is. This is just one more reason why. This is just another reason why I'm not so inclined to do a route, because you really are treated as an employee when it's all said and done. And then again, this is just my opinion. Those of you who do routes, dedicated routes, as what some would say, and you know that you're making a certain amount of money every week, almost like a salary. I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad at you one bit, man. You're doing what you got to do as well. All right, I'm coming up on the second stop, and this is just yet another Gezer random thought that I'm going to throw in there. Now, I said that you're kind of treated like an employee, but you got to understand too the differentiation between a contract person and a W-2, or if you want to say someone who does a dedicated route. The only difference is that they don't take taxes. The difference is that really they don't take taxes out of your money, and they're not obligated to contribute to your health insurance, or if they offer health insurance, or to other ancillary benefits. Those are really the biggest differences. They don't take out taxes, and they don't contribute to any benefits that you may have, because as a 1099, you pay for your own stuff. Now, that leads into another conversation I had actually back at the first stop, where a guy said he does Uber and Lyft, and he noted how people are saying how Uber and Lyft should be providing insurance benefits and all. Well, God damn it, if you want benefits like that, get you a fucking W-2 where they do that, especially if the company is large enough, then they can actually offer group benefits. As a 1099, that's on you. You foot those bills. And by the way, depending on how you do your taxes correctly, that is what you pay for your insurance premiums actually is another legitimate tax write-off. There is a tax form that you have to fill out in order to claim that on as a self-employed person, but it's yet another legitimate tax write-off. So I'll get back with you again once I've dropped off this one. So we're on our way now to the third and fourth stops. Those stops are like 10 minutes from each other, and doesn't look like much. I mean, there is kind of a heavy box with a wire coil at one location, and the other is just an ordinary box. Now, what I didn't mention was there is the sixth stop, which is on the way out to Blythewood, and it's over at an industrial park. That's actually right down the street from one of my insurance customers. There's a building that I've written a commercial general liability policy on, or business owner policy on, for the last like five years, maybe. I believe it's been like 5 years. They've been a customer of mine at that from that specific location. So I want to say though, after I get finished with these two stops, but actually it's stop number 5, because stop number 5 kind of goes a little bit out the way. That stop is probably about 10 to 15 minutes away from stop number 4. But once I get back over on what I would say is the northeast part of Columbia, it's going to be pretty much downhill from there, and this route would be over. Again though, my thoughts about route are that, I mean, you have to be there every day at a certain time, and I've just never been someone I've never really been a morning person by nature, even though I got to get up early and do shit like this all the time. In fact, like yesterday, I was out the house by 5 o'clock, 5:50. I was on the freeway by 5:15 yesterday morning, heading to Duncan. I'm just not a morning person. I mean, I would like to, perhaps, if retirement years were to really make it possible or feasible for me, I'd rather just get up when I want to get up. The other thing, when I think of contract, it kind of reminds me of my newspaper reporter days and why I liked being a beat writer. I couldn't stand working the desk, because that meant you had to be there every fucking day, and your movements were accounted for. Whereas when you're out there on a beat, you're in and out the office only when you have to be there, and then what you're required to do is show up and make deadline. Those are simple rules to live by during my reporter days, and that's the analogy that I kind of make when it comes to just being out chasing the money. Because in fact, I'll just share this for whatever it's worth. Once I get finished with this route, I do have another opportunity that's on deck, and that opportunity is going to pay me $200. That's right, $200 to take a pallet out from Columbia to Sumter. So you see why you have to leave yourself open for options. If you're boxed into a fucking contract situation, if some money really comes by, you're gonna be one mad motherfucker. You're gonna call them a motherfucker for having kind of duped you into that situation. All right, there, as you see on the inset, actually you see on the B-roll, that is from my leaving stop number 6. Stop number 6 is actually in Blythewood. That was supposed to have been my last stop, but that changed once I had accepted that offer by a local business to take a pallet to Sumter for $200. It's probably gonna pay a little more than $200. Probably more like about $225. My final thoughts on routes. I've been rather consistent with what I've said so far today. in this particular situation, and what I see with other situations, you're basically doing salaried work. You may have some variances in it in terms of what they're willing to pay you over if you go over a certain amount of time or miles driven. That's the way some contracts are negotiated, from what I understand. Yet the fact of the matter is that you are having to make yourself available Monday through Friday. I don't know if I can do that. I can't. I just don't know if I can do that. I'm not willing to do it. But for a spot opportunity like today, in which, as what I've shared earlier about how the market, at least with the last mile apps, have been rather dismal, and that's putting it nicely. This route was definitely a big pick-me-up. It made a difference today and in this week, kind of like last week. The thing is that you don't know where you're going to be going. Last week, my last two stops was this last one that I dropped off with at Blythewood, and then I had to go all the way out to Camden. And I guess I was okay with it because, well, Camden is from my doorstep, at least from that drop-off location, from my doorstep, that place was like 25 minutes from my doorstep. So I was okay with that. But who knows where I'll be going. And would I be willing to put in those type of miles for that type of money? Probably not. So, again, everybody's situation is different. I keep going back to that point. Everybody's situation is different. Everyone's money is different. Of course, everyone's experience is different, and everyone weighs different variables and factors. Again, for me, if I'm going to commit to something like that, we're talking about time. Time is money. And you're also limiting yourself to availability for other opportunities. But again, some people have made it work. Again, if the money was closer to what I make on average a day, at least so far in 2024, or for that matter, I'm going to use the numbers from July of last year through December 31st last year. So from the last 6 months of last year, and then so far in 2024, I'm putting these numbers up right here. That's what I averaged per day. And then factor that against what they were offering, it's a pay cut. It's a big time pay cut, at least in my opinion. So that's all I have to share for this particular segment of the Gig Gezer. If you like the content that's been provided in this segment or in any other segment, hit that subscribe button. Give my content a thumbs up. Share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. I'm Inwood Lane. As always, may your grind and may your hustle continue.